Hey, what's up guys? Bo HD here, and my friends over at Google, they sent me their new 2020 flagship Pixel 5 smartphone, which offers a slightly more appetizing price than last year's flagship Pixel 4, but it's not quite as appealing of a price as like the Pixel 4a, which was just launched, or the Pixel 4a 5G that will be launching in November in most countries. There's actually a slew of new Pixel phones to try and keep track of this year, but the most premium of them all is the Pixel 5, which starts at $700 and includes features like wireless charging with reverse wireless charging support. You got 5G support, you have a 90 Hz display, and water resistance. So if we just get right into this, inside the box, we'll find the sorta sage Pixel 5 sitting right on top. Underneath, there's a packet of paperwork, including a SIM card tool to get you up and running. And beneath that, we have a USB-C charging cable, a USB 2.0 to USB-C adapter to transfer data from your old device over to the Pixel 5, and we also have a fast charging 18-watt wall adapter. Now I gotta say, the Pixel 5 has one of the most unique builds we've seen this year, as it's made of aluminum, which is a material that has been used quite a bit in smartphones, but not as much lately, because a lot of the higher end devices typically support wireless charging, and you can't have wireless charging with a metal build construction. But what Google did here is they actually cut out a portion of the back for the wireless charging coil, and then they sprayed on a thick coat of texture to mask the cutout. So it doesn't look like you can, see the separation of materials, the cutout for the wireless charging coil. Instead, you're left with this cool to the touch phone that features a bit of grip thanks to the textured coating that Google sprayed on here. So it's pretty neat, and I'm definitely looking forward to jerry-rig everything's teardown of this phone to see exactly how Google accomplished this. The coating is fairly thick, so it does take away some of the characteristics of a purely metal phone with no coating, but I do dig this textured appearance and feel. So some things to note with the Pixel 5 are that, first of all, the camera module, it doesn't protrude much at all from the rear of the phone, so it shouldn't rock around on a flat surface as much when you use it, and the camera lenses, they might have a little bit more protection than other phones. We also will see here that Google ditched the face unlock method from the Pixel 4 in favor of the tried and true rear-mounted fingerprint scanner. And I think this has a lot more to do with COVID and the fact that everyone's wearing a face mask more than face unlock not working well, because I actually found it worked pretty darn well and definitely rivaled Face ID found in the iPhone. So like I said, I think it has more to do with COVID and the coronavirus and the fact that everyone's wearing a mask. And last but not least, we also have this Chrome button that looks super sexy. I just wanted to point it out because it seems like Google always likes to add some kind of flair with their power sleep buttons, and I dig this Chrome look. Now, when you power on the phone, you should notice the 90 Hz refresh rate. By default, this will be enabled for some content, quote unquote. However, if you want to force it on, you can actually go into the developer options and force it on so it's running all the time, but just know that that will drain some battery life. The 90 Hz refresh rate is definitely nice to see, as is the OLED panel and the 1080 by 2340 pixel resolution. The panel, I think it looks great upon first impressions, but I gotta say, I love the 6-inch display size. I crowned the Pixel 4a the best one-handed phone of the year, but I think the Pixel 5 might take that crown back because it seriously feels like the perfect size. It's fantastic. If you love one-handed usability, I can already say I think this phone is going to be a winner. Out of the box, the Pixel 5 is running Android 11, the latest version of Android, with redesigned notifications, with categories and media controls. You got temporary permissions, conversation bubbles, and more. I'll place a link down below to check out our video talking about the best features of Android 11 if you're interested. What's important to note with the Pixel 5, though, in this department is that it does not support a flagship Qualcomm chipset. Instead, Google went with the mid-tier Snapdragon 765G chipset with 8 GB of RAM and support for 5G. This should be fine for the vast majority of use cases and users, but if you're a heavy mobile gamer, this might not be able to run the most graphic-intensive apps as smoothly as you would like. Now, in the camera department, Google finally adopted an ultra-wide camera sensor to replace the telephoto sensor in the Google Pixel 4. The wide-angle camera is huge because if it's able to capture anywhere near the amount of detail and vibrancy as the main camera, it'll definitely help make the phone a winner. And wide-angle sensors in general are just so much fun to use. So I'm excited to put it to the test in our full review. I think you should know, though, that the 12.2 megapixel lens that we have here has been around since the Pixel 2. And that's because Google mostly relies on software enhancements to improve the overall picture quality between each successor. So because the hardware hasn't changed too much, the main camera sensor's photos shouldn't look too drastically different than the results from the previous Pixel phones. But I will say the results have still been very, very well received over the years. So I just wanted to point that out. Now, one of the biggest improvements to the Pixel 5 should be battery life, as Google has added a 4080 milliamp hour battery, which is absolutely massive compared to the Pixel 4's 2800 milliamp hour cell. And if you add on wireless charging, which it supports, and reverse wireless charging, you should have some happy customers. I'm excited to test this out. I think it's going to be strong. So when you consider that this phone also supports dual stereo speakers, 5G support, water resistance, you shouldn't be too disappointed about the mid-tier processor because it's $100 less than last year's Pixel 4 when it first launched. But I will say there's a ton of options to choose from for around $700, which is what this phone is going for. So I'm going to have to follow up with you in a week or two to determine how it stacks up to the competition. But if you like what you heard and you would like to pull the trigger now, I'll place a link to the listing of the Pixel 5 in the description of this video. As always, I'm curious to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps us out a lot. I'm Bo HD from PhoneDog.com. I'll talk to you guys right back here in the next one. See ya.